Hey guys, welcome to the Whitetail Anonymous podcast number 14. Today, Josh and I have a special guest on, Brandon Myers from Ohio. Brandon had a great season. He killed a buck of a lifetime, a great story behind it, and he wanted to share it with us, and we want to share it with you guys. I think I was very entertained with it. I think you guys will be as well. Josh, say hey to everybody.
What's up, everybody? Sorry it's been so long. It's been a long season.
It has. It's been a long season, a lot of ups and downs and failures and successes. But hey, man, that's why we keep digging and going for it. Brandon, say hey to all the viewers and everybody listening to you, man.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Brandon, you hunt in Ross County, Ohio. You killed I guess, close as you can get the 200-inch buck this year. We want to hear the story, man. You've told us a little bits and pieces of it. I'm sure all these other guys that want to hear it too that listen to the podcast. The floor is yours, my friend. Tell us the story.
All right. Well, the story starts back in early September. We can fast forward to the year before. I'd actually purchased a home, and in the time being, I got a 100-acre farm across the road with about a 20-acre woodlot. Got a stepdaughter that's kind of getting into the hunting herself. Basically, I picked up some permission to hunt over there. Basically, trying to let her get her hands on trying to kill her first deer.
Yeah. Get kids involved. That's awesome.
Yeah, we normally see a good patch of does. So I had moved over there and basically put up a stand and stuff for us to try to get us in there and get comfortable after I got some permission to hunt this place. The lady told me she'd never let nobody really hunt that area because nobody's really asked because the woodlot's so small. So I took full advantage of it. Started to get in there, started hunting. Me and her did. Rumors flying around that there was a real nice buck in the area that had a drop. I'd seen a couple photos of it. Never had no encounter with it. Just never had no good luck. Fast forward this season. It was early September, doing what I do every day, get up, get ready, head to work, driving down my back road, not even 500 yards down the road. I'm trucking along, and I see something running across the road. I look up, and it runs across the road, and there was this nice fine buck.
And it
run away from me. I'm like, man.
And it was the buck that the rumors were about, correct? It was the big 190-inch buck.
Yeah, it was a big buck from the year before. He'd lost the drop, but he had got much larger. So I knew right then I needed to get in. I didn't have no cameras at the time set up over there. I figured I'd just throw some cheap cameras up. I contacted a neighbor of mine who had actually killed a giant last season here in Ross County as well, Marcus Peachard. He's actually a neighbor of mine. I called him, let him know what I saw and see what he had thought about it. So we had stuck we got together that weekend. We'd stuck some cameras up. We were running our cameras. We weren't even running a cell camera at the time. We were just running some regular cameras. We were just basically trying to catch up with this deer, see what actually I had going on.
Yeah.
A weekend went by. We didn't have nothing too fascinating on there. So he told me, hey, don't wait on the deer at this time of year. He's like, go find it. Find out what its pattern is. We purchased a couple more cameras. I think I was running a total of 5 on this 100 acre, just trying to get a pattern of what this deer was doing. So I got going, and I moved some cameras, and maybe within 2 weeks, this stud shows up. I mean, he's there every day. Throughout the week that I'd put the camera up, he's passing through. He was finally shedding some velvet. He was running around with a couple other nice bucks that were still full velvet.
Yeah.
I'd found out where he was at, and basically what we did is put some stands up in the area. We moved some stands around that I had, and we wanted to get them set up on these narrow ditch lines and try to find the best thing we could do. So I reached out to a good friend, cousin, that basically has made this season successful, and that's my cousin Davey Stuckey. He's out in Ross County as well. I contacted him with the basically let him know what I had going on, and I know he's a big advocate hunter, and you know that's what he lives for is to hunt all he can, and he's killed some really nice deer over the years, and I didn't think I couldn't have two better people helping me.
Yeah, true.
So I got a guy that's been killing some nice deer, and I got a guy that's killed a giant last season, and basically I never had a deer this caliber before. So sometimes you got to ask some of the people that have, and basically go from there.
Yeah,
so we got some stands up, and Davey had actually was going to run a camera. We were going to film the hunts. Open season, night before I couldn't sleep. All I could think about was this big deer, and as every hunter, you're watching the clock. You're ready for early morning to get there so you can get to your stand. I've never really been too much of a morning hunter, but the first morning, my cousin told me, he's like, hey, hunt evenings at this time of year. He's like, just hunt evenings. And it took everything I could not to go in there at daybreak.
Yeah.
So I went to a different part of the land, and I'm like, where I wasn't seeing this deer, and just, hey, I'll hunt over here for the morning. So the first 2 days I'd sat with my cousin, and he was ready to film. We'd seen the deer on the first evening. It was probably roughly 80 yards from us. We just caught a glimpse of him, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward to day 4. I was by myself. Cousin wasn't there to film. He had to go to work. It was about 5:30 in the evening. I'm sitting. I'm not seeing much action. I looked up, scoped over the fields, and I noticed something that I hadn't seen before, standing above the beans. And I looked. I could see the white on her neck, and of course, you think you see something, and your eyes are messing with you because you're out here hunting this giant. You're just like, is that it? No,
you want to see something so bad that your mind makes you see something. It plays tricks on you.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it, and I know there's a nice deer in the area, and this guy turns his head, and I'm like, that's him,
Yeah.
So I'm getting ready. I got a rangefinder because I'm not 100% sure which way he's going to go. He comes out of the neighboring property. He crosses over onto the property. I got permission, and this happens within 2 minutes, but it seems like forever.
Yeah.
So time my rangefind, and about the path he's going to take through the clear, the only clear I had, shooting over this creek, because I didn't expect him to come from there at all. So he's coming down. I'd rangefind it, and I just glanced at my rangefinder and put it down, and I don't even think I paid close attention to it. And I had drew up on this deer, and he had stepped just in the path that I thought he was going to. I draw on him, and I pull the release, and I watch the arrow go, and it hits him high, and it basically almost pretty much skips off his back. And I was in disbelief. Like, I'd made some phone calls, and once again, my mind's like, what do I do? Did I get him right? Did I not? I overshot. I know I did, but here I'm thinking that he's 47 yards. He was 37, and it's just like so much was playing on my mind. But that's where mistakes come into play when you have a deer this caliber in front of you. I mean, just the littlest things that Joe hadn't seen, and the little things was the range find. I thought he was 47. He was 37.
Yeah.
So this deer makes his way across the road. Me and my cousin ran into little issues over the property deal. We're 80 yards from property line. Neighboring people that hunt, they're great people, and big deer make people do dumb things. And it was just an issue about being too close to the property line. I just said to heck with it, and
Yeah, moved
I
on.
moved across the road to where the direction this bucket went, and I'd gotten permission to hunt this little patch of woods, based more of a creek line, really. And I moved over there, and of course, I'm knocking on doors. Hey, can I hunt here? No, we hunt ourselves, and I'm just kind of keeping to myself a why. And within a week of when I had shot at this deer, I had actually caught up with him again, and I had seen him going across the field one morning, and once again, I picked up the phone. I called my cousin Dave Stokey back and said, hey, you're still alive. I seen him. What do I need to do? So once again, we move in. I got this permission on this property that's there's not even enough trees to really put a tree stand in. I'm actually sitting on a fence row, and we're getting ready. We're setting up. We found a good spot, good tree. We got some deer going on. We got a lot of action. My neighbor, in the beginning of the story here, that was helping me out, he would tease me a little bit. He'd send me text messages every night. Hey, that deer was killed. And he'd find a picture similar to the deer on the internet, and just kind of
give you a hard time. Yeah.
Well, exactly 2 weeks from when I pulled on this deer, I had actually got back up to go to work, and I had a text message from like 11 o'clock that night before. I done fell asleep. I wake up, and I'm getting dressed. I'm checking my message, and I see an image text. I'm like, oh, he's going to play games again. And I open it, and instantly I knew it was that deer. And come find out, neighbor guy, a couple houses down in the opposite direction, had a real small wood lot. He had the 4-year-old boy he wanted to take. He told me to shoot some does, and just got lucky, man.
Yeah.
He shot this deer at 15 yards out of a blind, and he was a real nice about it. He let me come check the deer out. I got to put my hands on it, take some photos, and basically since then we've chatted and gotten along, and it's been great. In the meantime, I was basically just hunting, just seeing what next best thing come up.
How big was that deer?
The deer, they said exactly scored exactly 190 on the mark.
Wow.
Is what he had scored.
Wow.
He was definitely a beautiful buck, and the kid that shot him, he had his 4-year-old son with him that 4-year-old will never forget. I mean, I won't forget pulling in the driveway and going into their shop, and the 4-year-old telling the story. He was, Dad shot this deer, and he was more excited than I think Dad was. So, that's great. He put the go ahead.
Yeah, he's hooked for life.
Hooked for
like
life.
He said, he'll never forget it.
No, that's
exactly.
He thinks Dad's a superstar now. I have a hard time getting a 100-inch deer to walk in front of my son. That's a golly. Yeah. Well, anyways, I guess from there, where did you go to find more deer, bigger deer?
Well, actually, the little piece of property we got permission to hunt, bumped heads again with the guy that was hunting a neighboring property. They're gun hunters, we love the bow hunt, and they just, I guess they just wasn't having the fact that we were sitting basically on a fence road that, facing the permission that we had, and basically we just didn't want to hear and have any drama and the troubles, and deer make people do some dumb things sometimes. So I just basically said heck with it, and we wrapped our gear up, and I said, hey, I'll find a different place to move to, and that's what I did. My wife was friends with a person, and I'd gotten a hold of her husband, and he had basically got me in on this 800-acre property that I now have. When I first got it, I called the guy that originally owned it, and basically he didn't want to talk. He just said no hunting and hung up. And I said, okay, I'll just keep doing what I do. Basically, all you can do is just ask. So I'd made a call, and I was like to my wife's friend's husband. I said, hey, this guy basically sitting there hunting. He said, let me call him. And believe it or not, the landowner called me back later that night and said, hey, well, I apologize. I was in the middle of some stuff and really didn't want to talk about hunting. I said, okay. And he said, I tell you what, he said, now that I know who you are and who you know, and he said, I tell you what, you come on down to my address and I'll give you written permission. And that's what I did. It was 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And it sucked because, I mean, here it is mid-November now. Rut's going on. You know, we're having all these issues, and we're moving into a new place, you know. It's not what I want to do. So, once again, me and Davey, we looked at the written permission. We went up, checked this property out, fell in love with it, you know. Going up the lane. So, it's real nice. Got a lot of open spots, big pond. It's just a very beautiful place. And timber's been cut out of there here recently, and in the past 2 years, timber's been taken out of there as well. So, you know, some new growth was coming on, and we'd basically took the ATV up there and rode around, spent a couple hours, basically just checking out this ground in the middle of November. Yeah. And we knew we needed to get set up right away because here it is a rut. Anything can happen. Yeah. So we had our stands and stuff with us, our blind, and we went ahead and threw the blind up that day, and we got there pretty early in the morning, and I think we had checked this property out, and we were set up and going by like 2 o'clock in the evening, and we had talked, and he's like, well, I'd give it a couple of days, and, you know, maybe 1 or 2 days, and then maybe go hunt out of that blind and see what happens. And I kept telling myself, well, you know, here it is, rut. Anything's possible, right? So
get in the tree and be there.
I do what most hunters do. Yeah. Same day, I go back, and I'm like, I'm hunting. I want to hunt, you know? So that's what I did, and I'd seen some deer right out the gate. That evening, I'd seen a really nice buck. Had a lot of potential. The night came to an end. I called him. I said, you know, hey, this is what happened. I think we found a good spot. And I just kept hunting every day, you know. My work allowed me to basically be able to be home at a decent time. And basically what I do every day is rush home, take a shower, and go to the woods, you know, and hunt. And that's what I did. And then here recently, probably beginning of maybe mid-December, we had talked about being deep in the woods where nobody would get. I was having some real nice bucks shuffling the camera down at the bottom where we originally put a blind up. 150s, 160 class deer were showing up, but it seemed like they were always showing up at like 6 o'clock in the morning or sometime throughout the night. They were just like nocturnal. They didn't want to be there. Yeah. When I wanted to be there, you know. Yeah. So we had come to an agreement that we would, you know, the winter's here. It's cold. We're going to move to the back of this farm and put out some corn and set up a new blind. Well, I knew I didn't want to be walking, you know. Not always I have a 4-wheeler, so it's like, if we're going deep in this woods, I'm definitely not going to put a camera I got to go check every week. I mean, this is a 45-minute walk, if not an hour up a hill to where we have our spot at now. And at the time, I wasn't sure where we were set up at. So we come to agreement, hey, we're going to put a Spartan shell cam up back there, and basically leave it alone. We'll just put out 600 pounds of corn and see what happens.
I bet that was fun carrying all that corn back in there, wasn't it?
It was, because I tell you, we had talked. We were originally going to put 1,000 pounds out. That's what he does at another farm that he hunts. It's 1,000 pound, and it's so we bought. I actually went down to the local feed mill and purchased my 1,000 pound of corn that I thought I was going to put up there, and it turned out we were just put 6 up there.
You got the 600 and you were done, right?
Yeah, 600 pounds. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna last a while. So we get up there, and both of us are kind of agreeing and disagreeing, and we're riding around, and it's kind of raining a little bit. It's cold. It's 30 degrees outside. We're riding around full wheeler, and we got this corn, and we're going over here to this spot, and the whole time that we're nitpicking where we're going to put this blind up and put this corn, and what's the best spot. It's not even 50 yards in diameter where we're going from place to place. So I'm like, well, maybe this would be better because,
yeah.
for this reason. And he'd be like, no, well, if we put a hang-on stand, this would be a better. It was just, we worked together. And we finally found a spot. We're like, you know what, it's going there. Let's just get out of here. So we put the 600 pounds of corn down, put the Spartan Cam on the tree, and we'd basically just hope for the best. We had talked, and we're like, hopefully we get something good. Well, that night, we had received a couple pictures of some does, and to me, I was happy to see that. I'm like, well, I was thinking maybe a week they would finally find the corn and show up.
Yeah.
That's what we thought, but they actually found it the night of, and so Spartan sent a text message to your phone, and we're both getting text messages and all night. And I'm waking up every day to go to work. I'm checking my phone, and I've got anywhere from 10 to 50 text messages of deer from that Spartan camera, and just kept browsing through them, just seeing does, and then a couple little bucks would show up, and a couple spike bucks, and we're like, okay, well, we got some action, so eventually something decent's going to show up. And that's all we kept telling each other, maybe something decent. It'll be there eventually. So a week goes by, and as, the Spartan Cam is taking these photos of all these deer, and the crazy thing is we're having deer there every hour on the dot. I mean, if it's 1 o'clock in the daytime, there's a deer there.
Yeah.
If it's 1 o'clock in the morning, there's a deer there. I mean, it just seemed like there was always deer on this corn. And I think the biggest part of it is there's no cornfields for at least a mile. And it's secluded. Nobody's there to bump deer. Nobody's there to pressure them or anything. And that's what we wanted.
Yeah,
we felt like it was a good spot. So as the week goes by, we're watching this corn pile disappear as these deer keep hitting on it. So we had talked, and we're like, hey, all these deer are there. We haven't put a blind up yet. We just put the corn out and the Spartan Cam because we were afraid that, if we weren't getting something here in the next 2 weeks, we were basically going to pull the cam and just go somewhere else on this 800 acres.
Yeah.
So that Saturday, December 30th, Saturday, December 30th, I had done what I normally do. I go to the local feed mill. I purchased another 1,000-pound of corn, and we only take 6 with us up there. Before we go up there, like I said, we're just having little bucks. So it kept crossing our mind. Let's just go ahead and move the camera, and let's just put the corn elsewhere. The corn's pretty much going at this point. Let's just try a different spot. And we actually rode around the bottom side of this farm, and we checked out this one spot that I thought maybe would be decent. And Davey is like, let's try this spot. And then we were like, you know what? Let's just keep it where it's at. So this Saturday, we take this corn up there, and we take a blind with us because we said wherever we're putting this corn, we're putting a blind up. We need to get it up. We need to get up now. So December 30th, we put 600 pounds of corn out again, and we about 30 yards from the corn pile, we set up a muddy 360 blind. I had no blinds left. That was his last one, and he had to put up, and it was a 360 that he turkey hunts out of, and he's just like, it's not the best to basically hunt out of for this, for whitetails. It's more of a turkey blind, but it'll work.
Yeah.
So we get this put up, and basically got in and got out, and I'd hunted the bottom side of that farm that evening. There's a 160 that's running around that farm that I was after.
Yeah.
And like I said, he just never would show up in the daylight. And so I hunt that evening. As I'm walking up the hill, I'm like, man, tomorrow's New Year's Eve. That's like, I've heard about people killing nice deer on New Year's Eve. I was like, just talking to myself, and hopefully tomorrow will be a good one, you know, full moon. Hopefully I can kill me a nice deer. And that night I come home, and I told my wife, I think I'm gonna hunt in the morning, and just go try again, you know, the same spot. I wasn't hunting up top. You know, I didn't have no big bucks showing up on camera yet that were worth me going up there to hunt for. And I told her, hey, I'm going to set my alarm. And she kind of laughed. She's like, every time you say you're going to set your alarm, you never get up. I'm like, yeah, I guess you got a point. I said, but I'm going hunting tomorrow.
All right.
She said, all right. So 5 o'clock rolls around, the alarm goes off. What do? I look at what time it is. I'm like, oh, man, here it is. It's Sunday. And I look outside, it's 5 degrees on the thermometer. I'm like, yeah, I'm going back to bed. So I go back to bed, and about 8:30, I wake up. And as usual, I got some photos from the Spartan Cam, and I'm looking through them, and a nice buck shows up. And I'm like, I click on the picture, I blow it up, and I'm like, my God, that's a nice deer.
Holy crap, yeah.
And I'm like, you got a drop time? I'm like, I started getting excited. I didn't even look at the rest of the photos. I make a call. And I called my cousin Davey, and he's like, yeah. He's like, I already saw it. So you already saw it? He's like, yeah. The deer was there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Here it is, 8:30, I see it. This deer showed up at 8 o'clock in the morning, 31st of December. First time he's ever showed up on any cameras I had there, and the first time he showed up on the Spartan Cam. And he's there for an hour.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I mean, he's just there till 9 o'clock, and he finally had left. And I tell you what, it was the longest day, because the only thing I could do was keep calling him. I mean, we played phone tag all day, and basically just trying to get a game plan. And I'm like, what should I do? He's like, you know, what should you do? And I'm like, well, you know, to me, by watching this deer just show up, and he's there for an hour, I feel like he's comfortable, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
He's a big deer, and if he's there for an hour and he's in the daylight, I feel like he'll be back. So he's like, okay. He's like, but, you know, there's no seat or anything up there at the blind. We just put the blind up yesterday. I said, I know. I said, that's what's crazy, you know? We put this blind up, and, you know, this deer has never been, he's never been to that spot, was what I think, because, you know, this deer has to be a pasture deer, because the blind's there. You know, if he was familiar with that general area, maybe he would notice something. Maybe not. I mean, we went in there, and, you know, maybe we sent it up a little bit. Maybe he just doesn't care. And all these variables are playing a big role in, you know, me going in here and trying to even get an opportunity with this deer. So 2:30, I'm like, I'm going to leave at 2:30. I'm going to go hunt this deer. And he's like, okay. He's like, stop by my house, pick up a muddy chair, and take it up there so you have something to sit on. I said, okay, I'll call you later. So in the meantime, throughout the day, you know, it's going through my mind. Here it is, late December. I've already heard about some deer shedding. So my biggest thing is, this deer's not going to show back up, or this deer's going to show back up. He's going to have a half ride. It just seemed like my season's not been the greatest, and something is not going to happen the way I want it to happen, is what I'm thinking. So I knew what I wanted to do, but at the same time, I'm like, if he doesn't show up and this 160 shows up, I like for him to be harvest. So I called my stepfather, and I talked to him, and I said, hey, I know you hunt this other farm. You're not having a lot of success over there. And I said, I want you to come hunt my blind tonight. And I shared a picture with him. So he come to agreement, okay. So I stopped and I picked him up, and we're getting back down the driveway. I'm like, oh, hey, I don't have a chair in the blind. I was supposed to stop Davies and pick it up. He said, well, I got a 5-gallon bucket with the swivel spin seat on top of it with cushion. I said, that'll work. So we make it to the farm, and I drop him off in the driveway. He's going to basically go hunt this 160. I told him, you know, if it shows up, kill that thing. I want to see this deer dead, you know. So he goes off to hunt, and I drive on down over the hill, and I get parked, and I get all my stuff, make sure I put my scent killer on. I'm getting ready, and start walking off. I start making my way up this hill, and it's pretty steep. I mean, it's an old logging road. I'm walking up. I feel like I'm out of shape. I feel like I have to stop every 5 minutes. Here it is. It's 7 degrees, and I'm sweating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm making my way up this hill, and as I'm going up the steep hill up here in Ohio, I look over and I jump 2 doe up, and I'm like, that's not good. It's just not. I just feel like it was a bad situation.
Yeah.
To go wrong. Maybe this big buff's with them, or maybe they're going to blow at me or something. And I keep pulling my phone out. I'm watching. I use an app to watch my wind direction, and that's how I hunt. I use my phone a lot for hunting, checking the wind, and the wind was in my favor. So I carried on. These does ran up on the shelf where I was headed, and I get to the top of the hill, and we've got a couple inches of snow on the ground, and I get up to the top of this hill, and I sat down. And when I'm up there, I just kind of look around, and I'm sitting there trying to catch my breath, because I didn't want to be walking through there huffing and puffing. I'm just like, I want to be as quiet as possible, because these does got to be around here somewhere, and I just didn't want nothing to happen. So finally give up, make my way to the blinds. I've got about 300 yards to walk. As I'm walking so slow and trying to be so quiet and sneaking into this blind. So I get to this blind, I finally get in, I get set up, and it's 3:15, maybe 3:30, and I'm sitting there, and got everything set up, ready to go, and I was like, well, tell myself I need to keep it dark as possible in this blind, but I need to be able to see kind of to my side. And I've seen a lot of, with the snow, and I've seen a lot of paths, these deer running, and I just want to be ready if this deer showed up. So kind of cracked this window on this blind, and about 15 minutes after I do that, I seen a doe, and about 100 yards away to the woods with the white snow on the ground, and as I'm paying attention to her, I see a couple more doe. So now I've got like 5 doe in front of me, and I'm just like, to myself, I'm kind of relieved. Like, I've been here 15 minutes, I already got deer moving.
Yeah.
That tells me that them deer that I spooked are not, didn't bust me out or anything. They just kind of got up and trotted off, and I feel like I snuck in here pretty good. So I'm sitting there, and I'm watching these doe, and I lose sight of them, and a couple of them make their way to this corn pile, and a few of them kind of just walk on. They didn't even hit the corn pile. And as I'm sitting there, I kind of looked to my left, and I seen the tip of a rat, and I got real excited. I'm like, okay, here he is. He come with them does, and I'm getting ready. I got my bow, and as I see the tip of this rat come closer behind this tree in the corner of my blind, here it is, an 8-point steps out. I get all excited. It's a 130-inch deer, and I'm just like, oh, man, here my adrenaline's going. I'd seen it, and he had come to the corn pile, and those had kind of went off to their own direction, and the buck was eating on the corn, and he kept looking around, and I think he sat on the corn for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and he kind of went off to my right, and about an hour goes by, and I got my phone, I'm kind of watching around, trying to listen, and as I'm looking at my phone, here it is, it's 5:04, and I'm looking at my phone, and I look up at the corn pile, and I kind of see something caught my eye to the right of my blind out the window. So I've got my window, and I've got all these trees kind of clustered together, and I just caught a glimpse of something moved, and I looked up. Well, I got to looking, and I seen it again, and I seen the tip of a rat. And I tell myself, that's just that 8-point coming back because he went that direction. And I came out, I had my bow in my lap, but I wasn't even ready. And this deer steps out, and a little bit more clear where I can see its track a little better, and turns its head. And the first thing I noticed is the big drop. And I don't even have time to get nervous. I'm like, that's him. And it's crazy because, 150-inch deer, you start getting a little nervous. Here I've got potential 200-inch deer in front of me, and I'm calm as can be. And this buck makes his way in between these trees, and I pull up on him, and I'm draw back, and I'm looking through my peep, and I'm looking dead on him. I mean, he's 30 yards, 30-yard pin right on it. And I'm like, I'm going to wait and let him step out a little bit, like more in the clear. I mean, he's a decent shot, but I want to let him step clear on out. He's getting comfortable. And as I do, I'm drawn back. And it seems like it's forever away. I'm waiting. Well, I about lose basically my strength in my arm. I'm pulled back. I feel like I'm rested, but I'm pulled back really hard. And my arm slips in, and I catch myself, and I hurry up and draw back. And he kind of looks up. And this all happening and unfolding. I'm telling myself, got to make this count. I know that, the Spartan Cams right there. My cousin was getting the text messages. My phone's vibrating that, you got a text message to this deer. And I'm waiting, and finally makes the turn, and I release. And I watch the arrow, but I did not. He goes right through him. He does a spin, and he runs out of sight. I mean, there's not much of a view for him with this blind, and he just runs out of sight. And I look at my phone, and the first person I see is my cousin text, well, a question mark. And he's already been giving me crap throughout the day because, I haven't called him back and wants to know if I'm hunting. And, he's like, you better be there. And I don't even tell him I'm there,
Yeah.
I'm like, this has all happened, and I know I hit this deer good, and it's just like, I sat there for a minute, and I'm like, I can't believe this just happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This deer showed up this morning.
What did I just do?
Right. Right. I've only known this deer for 9 hours,
Yeah.
And I just got a shot at a deer that most people will never get the opportunity of. Most people watch deer this caliber for years, weeks, months, photos after photos. I have less than 10 photos of this deer, and I get this opportunity. And so as time wound down, I obviously called my stepdad, told him, hey, I shot this deer, and he was at my other blind, so I told him, hey, and he's just like, stay there for a while. And I told him, that's what I plan to do, and told him I'm on the phone with him. I'm going to walk down to the corn pile and see if I can just find my arrow. I know it passed through, and that's what I do. I walk down. I don't see my arrow. I'm just kind of looking around my eyes, and I don't even see no blood. And I'm kind of like, I know I hit him, but you always wonder, if you don't see no blood, you're like, did I not make it
concerned.
Or is this going to turn into a bad situation for a long track? And as I'm standing there, I'm just kind of looking with my eyes only, and I kind of seen in the snow was kicked up with some leaves and some sticks, so I kind of went over to there and looked a little bit for a little blood, and when I looked up, I seen a tail and a deer running, and I just thought to myself, that's not good. And I kept looking, and I looked again, and I just noticed the deer laying there. I seen the back of him, and I didn't even know it was him yet. I just seen the back of the deer on the ground, and I just told myself, that's got to be him. So I started walking down that way, and I ran some trees in a bush, and all I saw was antlers. Man, I tell you what, I ran up to it, got the hold of it. I was like, kind of just so excited, man. I can't even tell you what I did, I was
just
pumped
a moment of a lifetime. Moment of a lifetime. Yeah, that's an awesome story, Brandon. I mean, that's I guess good karma. You took the high road with your bad encounter with the other neighboring hunters, and I guess the good Lord had His finger on you, man.
We reap what we sow.
Yeah, that's a. Josh and I are. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, when we first got the pictures of this deer, we thought he was 160s. I tell you, man, when I got it in my hand, I called my cousin back. And, I didn't even have a bowl with me or nothing. He was in the woods with his boy. And I called him. I'm like, man, this deer's bigger than he looks. And he said, I'm on my way, and I just got out of the woods, and I'll be right there. And he showed up at 5:05, and I put an arrow in about 507. I just, buck in my hands within minutes. And by the time we got out of the woods and everything, here it is late, 10 o'clock. And it was just awesome, man. I mean, it's crazy because, like I said, I mean, guys hunt deer this caliber, for years, watching these deer grow to be this size and just hoping, it's not like there's 200-inch deer on everybody's property or 180s,
Yeah.
But to have two encounters in one season with deer that's in their 190s, it's basically unheard of, being free roaming deer.
Yeah, well, I think that's
I
think that's a tribute to Ohio's management plan. They've done a very good job of managing their deer herd, and they have great genetics. Great great food sources. The deer get to their the correct age to get to that that high score of a deer, and it just kudos to Ohio for doing the right thing.
1 buck limit, man. It's a huge help. I wish West Virginia would go to 1 buck.
Shoot, I wish North Carolina would. Not that we'd have them that big, but it would help.
Like I think a couple of years ago, we were at I think it was no home into it, but I think we were like 1 buck and like 6 or 7 does, and it's crazy. It's like I love to hunt, but I don't need 7 or 8 deer in my freezer. You know what I mean?
So, that's I always laugh when people say that they live off deer meat, like they've never been to McDonald's. And they. I don't know. That's I agree with you there. But Josh and I are both big advocates of Spartan cameras. We run a ton of them. It's what the intel they give you immediately is beyond helpful. I mean, there is no other tool in the woods that I would rather have in the scouting game is a Spartan camera. Scouting for deer. It saves you time. Me, where I have 2 kids and a wife, I can't just run around checking trail cameras all the time. It's great to have them sent to my phone.
Right.
And where we hunt out of state a lot. We live in North Carolina. I'm 3.5 hours from my West Virginia property. I'm 5.5 hours from my Ohio property, and they tell me what's going on to the second of where these properties are. And there's
I can tell you right now, if it wasn't for a Spartan camera, here's where I'm at with this, and I can't say it enough. If it wasn't for Spartan camera to have that Spartan up there, this opportunity probably would have never happened.
Yeah.
And why I say that is because here it is late season in Ohio, and this deer is in survival mode. He's just looking for food. To show up first time ever and be there for an hour and get comfortable, the thing is I would have went in there Saturday as normal, thinking with a regular camera, hey, I need to put some corn up there, pull the SD card, slip one in. I would have done that on Saturday, and more likely, because I haven't had no big deer show up, I would have waited another week to go back up there and pull that SD card, and I would have been,
you'd have been sick.
Upset,
you'd been sick.
Yeah, I mean, just sick, upset, really, this deer showed up, and he might only showed up on Sunday, the 31st of December. That might have been the only time he would have showed up. He could have been there every day that week. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for Spartan Camera to send me that text message and tell me what I needed to do that day, this would have never unfolded.
Folks,
and that's how I truly feel.
Folks, this is a huge testimonial to Spartan Camera. It's not just Josh and I, running our mouths how great they are. Other people are seeing the benefits of having them. If you guys are interested in Spartan cameras, check them out, hcooutdoors.com. Shoot us a message on the page, ask us questions. I'm sure Brandon has Facebook. Shoot him a message. He'll tell you his story with Spartan cameras. It's really changed the game, the hunting game. It's changed the scouting game, and it's something that, I love to do. They're fun. My kids enjoy them. What do you want to add about Spartan cameras, Josh?
Well, it's, you get some people who have the dilemma of whether or not they're ethical or if they're not ethical or whatever. They're no different than an SD card camera other than you're getting the intel instantly. Some people think just because you get a picture sent to your phone, you're going to run out there and get in front of that deer somehow and kill it instantly like you're watching TV. And it's not that simple.
No.
I mean, both of y'all know that. Are they a game changer? Yes. Do they help us get in front of deer quicker? Yes. But, as far as ethics, there's nothing unethical about them. They're just giving you the information you would have got, just like Brandon just said, a week later, but he got it a week earlier, and he was able to capitalize on a giant deer because of that.
Yeah, and one thing I did leave out, guys, if you are interested in Spartan cameras, Herd 360, Mike Kirkpatrick is a dealer for them. He will give you a great price on a Spartan camera. And, we've got a lot of people looking at them like, man, $400 or $500, I just can't swing that for one of these cameras. Contact Mike, military discounts, other type of discounts he can offer you, that make them more affordable than what they are on the different sites, different dealers. And Mike's a great guy. We get a lot of stuff through Mike. He's really supported us at CK, and we want to support him in return. Well, Brandon, I appreciate you telling us the story. Before I cut everybody off, anybody had anything else to say?
No, just we appreciate you coming on, Brandon, and sharing your story. It was an awesome story, awesome season.
Yeah.
Okay, and also, any guys that's listening, that's in the Ohio area, there's a lot of taxidermies out there, and there's one I think needs to be recognized a little bit. They can be recognized, and that's Matt Colopy out of Londonderry, Ohio. He's actually mounting this deer that will be at the Ohio Turkey and Deer Expo this coming March. If you want to check him out, we'll probably be set up with him. I joined up with a group called Pure Whitetails. They're out of Ohio.
Yeah.
Real good group of guys. More than likely, we'll probably be set up with them in their booth. But if not, we will be up there at the Turkey Expo and Deer Expo this season. If anybody wants to check him out, he's got a heck of a drop time on him, and he's definitely a deer to check out.
Yeah.
And of course, all the deer up there at the expo are wonderful deer, and every deer's a trophy, man. It doesn't matter the inches, the size, or what. Every deer's a trophy to somebody, and that's just the way you got to look at it.
Yeah, it is.
But back to the Spartan cameras. I can say I may run some original SD card cameras, but I know in my near future I'll definitely have several Spartan cameras in different locations.
All right, good deal.
Spartan will help me seal the deal.
They will do that, and we'll post a link. I'll get that name from you for that taxidermist for the Ohio guys. We'll post a link on it when we post this podcast, so people know who you're talking about, and go from there. And guys, this podcast is brought to you by Ozonics Hunting. Ozonics is another tool that we use and that we're blown away by. Just the results of it and how it works. How it gives you that extra 30, 40 seconds, to close the deal on a buck of a lifetime. And guys, if you're interested in Ozonics, check them out, ozonixhunting.com. If you got questions about it, shoot Josh or I the page a message. It's something that we will not go in the woods without, another tool. But guys, we do appreciate you tuning into this podcast. This is the Whitetail Anonymous podcast number 14 with Brandon Myers. And again, guys, thank you for checking us out.